Ecology is the study of the interrelationship between living organisms and their environment. Ecology shows the interdependence of life and the environment and deals with balance in nature. Ecology studies ecosystems, which are composed of dynamically interacting parts including organisms, the communities they make up and the non-living components of their environment. E.P. Odem is regarded as the father of ecosystem ecology. He brought forward the importance of ecology as a discipline. He adopted and developed further the term ecosystem. R. Margolef suggested that ecology is the study of ecosystems. Professor Ramdev Mishra, who is called as the father of Indian ecology, defined it as the study of interactions of form, function and factors. Ecology involves various biological organizations. The level of biological organization of interest in ecology are organism, population, community, ecosystem, biosphere. A biotic community lives in an abiotic environment called biotope. The biotope provides material and energy to the bio community inhabiting it. This shows that there is an interaction between a biotic community and its environment. Therefore, a biotic community cannot live isolated from the biotope. A bio community and its biotope together form an ecological system or ecosystem. In Greek, eco means environment and system means an interacting and interdependent complex. The term ecosystem was coined by A. G. Tensley. Some other terms were also coined for ecosystem. Example, Biocoenosis by Carl Moebius, microcosm by S. A. Forbes, Geobiocoenosis or biogeocoenosis by Suphur. Organisms such as plants, animals and microorganisms interact with the physical environment of their habitat and form an ecological complex working system which is termed as the ecosystem. The ecosystem has two interacting components. These are organisms, biotic, physical environment, abiotic. An ecosystem may be defined as a structural and functional unit of the biosphere comprising living organisms and their non-living environment that interact by means of food chains and chemical cycles, resulting in energy flow, biotic diversity and mineral cycling to form a stable self-supporting system. An ecosystem involves a whole network of relationships, exchanges and interactions between the living and non-living components. The relationship between a biotic community and the non-living environment is always a mutual one. That is, not only does the environment affect the community, but community also modifies the environment. An ecosystem does not remain constant. Changes occur in it continuously in one form or the other. It is significant that even a small change in one part of an ecosystem is felt throughout the ecosystem. This establishes the importance of interlinkages in an ecosystem. Ecosystems may be classified on the basis of their nature, duration and size. On the basis of the nature of an ecosystem may be natural or artificial. Common examples of natural ecosystems are a pond, a lake, a meadow, a desert, a grassland, a forest, a village, a field, a hillside, etc. Even a single log and edge of a pond are also instances of ecosystem. Instances of artificial ecosystems are a manned spaceship, a flower bed or kitchen garden in the backyard, an aquarium and a pot of houseplants. On the basis of duration, an ecosystem may be temporary, such as rain-fed pond and laboratory culture of protozoa, or permanent, such as forest or a lake. On the basis of size, an ecosystem may be very small, called micro ecosystem, such as a flower pot or a site under a stone, or it may be very large, termed macro ecosystem, such as an ocean, a forest, etc. The study of an ecosystem focuses on various aspects. Besides the organisms and their environment, it also includes nutritive relationships between the organisms, interactions between the organisms and the environment, cycling of matter and flow of energy through it. To sustain itself and to last indefinitely, an ecosystem must have resources for supporting its resident organisms and for disposal of their waste. The necessary components of an ecosystem are matter, the water, minerals, carbon dioxide and oxygen, and several species of organisms. An ecosystem must also receive a continuous supply of energy. The components of an ecosystem may be divided into two main types: biotic components comprising the various kinds of organisms and abiotic components comprising of environmental factors. Abiotic components of an ecosystem include the non-living physical chemical factors of the environment. These components not only affect the distribution and structure of organisms, but also their behavior and interrelationships. Abiotic components are of three types: physical factors, organic components and inorganic components. Physical factors: light, heat, humidity, atmospheric pressure. Organic components: carbohydrates, proteins and lipids, and inorganic components: oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide. Sunlight is an essential abiotic factor in the ecosystem. It constitutes the main supply of energy for all organisms. Plants with chlorophyll can change the light energy into chemical energy through a process known as photosynthesis. This chemical energy is stored as complex organic substances known as food. Besides the significant function of food production, the light also regulates many biological processes. Heat is essential for maintaining the body temperatures of ectothermic animals which are not adapted to regulate their body temperature. For example, fishes, amphibians and reptiles. Plants make use of a little amount of heat to perform the photosynthetic process. They are adapted to survive between great ranges of temperature. This is also applicable for all the organisms from archaea to mammalia. Some microorganisms can even tolerate extreme temperatures. The earth receives heat from the sun. The heated earth emits infrared radiation, which is absorbed by the atmospheric water vapor. This delays the release of heat towards space. Thus, the atmosphere is kept warm. Besides water vapor, other gases like carbon dioxide and methane also absorb infrared radiation. This is known as greenhouse effect. Water is an indispensable factor for life. Living beings originated in water and all living beings need water to survive. Water is involved in diverse organic and chemical processes. Water works as a thermoregulator for the climate and living systems, including warm-blooded animals. Water is responsible for the maintenance of stable climatic conditions on Earth. The main organic components of an ecosystem are carbohydrates, proteins and lipids. They are the major biomolecules and they help in the sustenance of life forms. Various inorganic elements are essential for the metabolism of living organisms to function properly. From the 92 known natural elements, only 25 elements are found in living matter. From these 25 elements, 4 elements carbon, oxygen, hydrogen and nitrogen are present in 97% of the molecules of life. The remaining comprise only 3% of living matter, the most important being phosphorus, potassium, calcium and sulfur. Living organisms present in an ecosystem form the biotic components. They are interconnected through food. Matter and energy are transferred in the living world as food. Organisms in an ecosystem can be classified on the basis of their mode of obtaining food. These are plants, animals and microorganisms. Plants are called producers, animals are the consumers, while microorganisms are the decomposers, according to their role in keeping the ecosystem operating as a stable unit. Producers are mainly green plants having chlorophyll. They produce carbohydrates by the process of photosynthesis. In this, the plants convert solar energy into chemical energy using water and carbon dioxide. They are called autotrophs since they produce their own food. Part of the food produced by autotrophs is utilized for their own consumption for survival and growth, while the remaining is stored in the plant parts for future consumption. This becomes the food for other biotic components in the environment. Consumers are the organisms that gather energy by consuming organic material from other organisms. Consumers derive their energy by aerobic respiration, which converts sugar and oxygen into carbon dioxide and water to give them energy. Since they rely on the producers for their food requirements, consumers are also called as heterotrophs. Consumers may be primary consumers or herbivores. Primary consumers or herbivores are also called first order consumers. They eat the producers or plants. Example, cattle like cows and goat, deer, rabbit, etc. Secondary consumers or primary carnivores. Secondary consumers or primary carnivores are also called second order consumers. They eat herbivores, example, snake, cats, foxes, etc. Tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers are also called third order consumers. They feed on secondary consumers. They are large carnivores, example, wolf. Quaternary consumers. Quaternary consumers are also called fourth order consumers. They are very large carnivores and feed on tertiary consumers and are not consumed by other animals. Example, lions and tigers. Omnivores, organisms that consume both producer and other consumers are called as omnivores. Omnivores may be in the second and higher trophic levels depending on their level of consumption. Example, dogs and humans. Detrivores, detrivores are organisms that consume detritus matter, the tissues of dead organisms, either producers or consumers, and organic waste, for example, millipedes and earthworms. Decomposers, also called as saprotrophs, are mainly microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. The dead organic materials of producers and consumers are their food. They break down the organic matter into simple compounds and utilize them in their metabolic processes. These simple compounds are nutrients which are absorbed by the producers, thus completing a cyclic exchange of matter between the biotic and abiotic components of the ecosystem. Ecosystems are complex, dynamic and perform a variety of functions. The major functions of ecosystem are energy flow and nutrient cycling through biogeochemical cycles. The sun is the source of all our energy. Chlorophyll bearing plants convert the energy from sun into carbohydrates and sugars using carbon dioxide and water. This process is known as photosynthesis. The generalized form of the photosynthetic reaction is 6 CO2 plus 12 H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O. The sun's energy thus enters the living beings through photosynthetic reactions and is passed from one organism to another in the form of food. The flow of energy is unidirectional and governed by the thermodynamic law that states that energy is neither created nor destroyed and can transform into different forms. The food chain is an ideal model of the flow of energy in the ecosystem. Transfer of food energy from green plants or producers through a series of organisms with repeated eating and being eaten is called food chain. Each step in the food chain is called a trophic level. A food chain has three main trophic levels: producers, consumers and decomposers, though the overall number of trophic levels might be 5 or 6. The energy efficiency of each trophic level is very low, which puts a limit on the number of trophic levels. The shorter the food chain, the greater will be the availability of food. There are two types of food chains: grazing food chains and detritus food chains. Grazing food chains start from the green plants that make food for herbivores and herbivores in turn for the carnivores. Detritus food chains start from the dead organic matter to the detrivore organisms, which in turn make food for many organisms from protozoans to carnivores, etc. The food chains are not linear chains or isolated chains and do not operate independently. Several food chains remain linked together and form an interconnected network pattern known as food web. In a food web, the interconnections of food chains depend upon the availability, kind and choice of food at each trophic level. A food web maintains the stability of the ecosystem by providing several alternative sources of food. Greater the number of interlinks, more stable is the community. Ecological pyramids are the graphic representations of trophic levels in an ecosystem. They are pyramidal in shape and are of three types: pyramid of biomass, pyramid of numbers and pyramid of energy. Pyramid of biomass. A pyramid of biomass is a graphical representation of biomass in an ecosystem at various trophic levels. The pyramid shows that most of the Earth's biomass exists in producers, less in primary consumers and increasingly less in higher trophic levels. In some cases, the pyramid shape can vary. The pyramid of biomass in a terrestrial ecosystem is upright. In an aquatic habitat, the pyramid of biomass is inverted or spindle shape, where the biomass of a trophic level depends upon the reproductive potential and longevity of the member. Pyramid of number. A pyramid of number represents the number of organisms at each trophic level. Example, in a grassland, the number of grasses is more than the number of herbivores that feed on them, and the number of herbivores is more than the number of carnivores. In some instances, the pyramid of number may be inverted, that is, herbivores are more than primary producers, as we may observe that many caterpillars and insects feed on a single tree. Pyramid of energy. A pyramid of energy represents the total amount of energy at each trophic level. Energy is expressed in terms of rate such as kilocalorie per unit area per unit time or calorie per unit area per unit time. For example, in a lake, autotroph energy is 20810 kilocalories per meter per year. Energy pyramids are never inverted. Several mineral cycles operate in ecosystems. The mineral elements are primarily absorbed by plants from their surroundings, that is air, water, soil, and are then passed on to the animals. Later, the death and decomposition of plants and animals release these elements into their surroundings and are reused by plants. All the elements cycle continuously through the organisms and earth, and this transfer in a cyclic manner is called biogeochemical cycle. Biogeochemical cycles are of two types: gaseous cycles and sedimentary cycles. Gaseous biogeochemical cycles are the oxygen cycle, the carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle. Molecular oxygen through respiration and combined oxygen in the form of water, carbon dioxide, etc., enters the living system. Oxygen returns into the atmosphere through photosynthesis and through a number of other biological processes. Oxygen in the atmosphere is an indispensable element for life. It is constantly taken in by animals and plants and is used in respiration. Oxygen deficiency causes a number of effects in plants such as stunted growth, death of roots, thin cell wall and poor root branching. This may be due to certain environmental conditions like poor aeration in soil, waterlogging, swampy habitat, etc. Even though sufficient quantity of oxygen gas is present in the atmosphere. The carbon cycle is the cycling of carbon between biotic and abiotic systems. Biomass is part of the carbon cycle. Carbon from the atmosphere is converted into biological matter by photosynthesis. On death or combustion, the carbon goes back into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Most of the carbon in the form of carbon dioxide enters the living world through photosynthesis and is used in the synthesis of organic compounds in living systems. By way of respiration, decomposition of plants and animals by microorganisms or by burning of fuels etc., the carbon fixed in the form of organic compounds is released as carbon dioxide and thus it returns into the atmosphere for reuse. Nitrogen and its compounds form a vital ingredient in all forms of life in the biosphere. Nitrogen is available in the atmosphere as molecular nitrogen in the gaseous form, which cannot be directly absorbed by the plants or producers. In order to be absorbed by the plants, it has to be converted into water soluble compounds with elements like hydrogen, carbon and oxygen. This process is known as fixation of nitrogen. The sedimentary cycles of an ecosystem are Suphur Cycle and Phosphorous Cycle. Amino acids and proteins need sulfur compounds for their production. In the atmosphere, it is present as sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide, in the soil as sulfates or sulfides. Volcanic emissions and burning of fossil fuels supply sulfur dioxide to the atmosphere, while bacterial emissions give hydrogen sulfide. Atmospheric sulfur dioxide eventually reaches the earth along with rainfall. Sulfur bacteria also play a vital role in the interchange and movement of sulfur compounds in the ecosystem. The sulfur compounds in the plant and animal parts are absorbed by the soil after their death, decay and converted into sulfides and sulfates by sulfur bacteria, which are subsequently used up by the plants. The bones and teeth of animals, including human beings, contain phosphates which are necessary for their development and growth. In addition, phosphates are essential for cells in the production of deoxyribonucleic acid DNA and ribonucleic acid RNA. Phosphates are available in the lithosphere, in rocks and soil in inorganic form. Plants absorb phosphates and convert them into organophosphates. Phosphates are also added to the soil through phosphate fertilizers. Soluble phosphates reaching rivers and streams from agricultural lands make rich in phosphates, cause excess algal growth, leading to eutrophication. Return of phosphates to the earth is by the decay of plant and animal matter and subsequent absorption. In this program, we have studied the ecosystem, its definition and types and the scope of the study of an ecosystem. We have also talked about various functions of an ecosystem. I hope you now understand the structure of an ecosystem, including its biotic and abiotic components.